welcome. I'm Alex Starr. I'm a long time league member, and I'll be the moderator tonight. Um, this is a forum for candidates for election to be the mayor of the city of Fremont. This forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Fremont, Newark, and Union City. Um, the League of Women Voters promotes political responsibility through informed and active participation of citizens in government. The League is nonpartisan, but we are political. We study issues that have potential governmental solutions and develop consensus positions. Once we have developed a position as an organization, we take action for positive change. However, and this is important, we never support or oppose any political party or candidate. Never. We present this forum as a service to you, the voters. Here are the ground rules. Please silence your cell phones during the forum if you haven't already done so. The only videotaping will be done by the League, no one else. Before this forum, we collected questions from the community and League members. Time constraints rarely allow us to ask every question submitted, so League volunteers will be sorting through any live submissions to ensure that we get the most frequently asked questions and cover a variety of issues. The League members monitoring the time are seated facing you with a time card. A yellow card will signal 15 seconds to wrap up, and red means your time is up. Each candidate will be allocated 1.5 minutes to answer each question. Candidates, if you would like me to repeat a question, just ask. I'd be happy to do so. Do not feel obligated to use the entire time provided. The more precise your answer, the more questions we will be able to address. Sometimes a question is straightforward and requires simply a yes or no answer. For these lightning round questions, no timer will be set, and you can use, just a short yes or no. After the first question, we will direct questions in a variety of orders so that we don't always go 1, 2, 3, 4. At the end of the forum, each candidate will be provided 2 minutes for a closing statement. Now, the candidates, and I put this in alphabetical order before you drew your seats. Vinnie Bacon in the purple. Rohan Marfatia next. Hui Neng, is that? Hugh Ng, okay, got it. And Raj Salwan. Okay, now we will go to the opening statements, and we will go, first is Hugh Ng.
This is a PTA Honorary Service Award.
1 minute. 1.5 minutes, sorry.
Okay, my name is Hugh Ng. I've been serving the city of Fremont in a lot of different roles. What I really like to do this time is to fix the homeless problem. It is complicated. That's why I'm running for mayor. I want to fix that problem. I have a plan at my website, a detailed plan. It is called keepfremontsafe.com. That's where you can read a detailed plan of how this problem would be able to address. That's what I really, really care about. I want to fix the homeless problem. Thank you.
Next is Raj.
Good evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for this important forum. My name is Raj Salwan, and I'm running for Fremont Mayor because I believe that Fremont needs full-time, experienced, and collaborative leadership to lead us to the future. As your mayor, I will be a leader that represents all of Fremont. That means people from all backgrounds, all faiths, all ethnicities, all religions, all parties, because I truly believe that the best decisions are happen when we serve everyone. I will ensure that Fremont remains one of the happiest cities, one of the best places for families, one of the safest cities in America, and a place where people can live, work, and play and enjoy their into retirement. My number one priority is solving problems. As a professional, I'm a highly trained problem solver. All day, we're solving problems, and that's something that I excel at. And I will work with all the different stakeholders from all aspects, whether they're in business or labor or community or police or fire, and bring them together to solve the many challenges facing our community. More than ever, we need folks that will unite our community, that bring our community together. And so you need to have those collaboration skills to work well with others, respect others, and be respected in return. And that's the kind of leadership I will bring. I will also be a straightforward leader. I will lead our city, take responsibility for issues that come before our city, and make sure that they know where the city stands on the issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rohan Marfatia. I'm running for the mayor of Fremont. My vision is to elevate Fremont. My vision is to set up a thriving, safe, and inclusive Fremont. We have seen a lot of issues over the last few years, whether it is crime, homelessness, corruption. We have seen our former Fremont city manager go to prison. We have seen the retaliation. We have seen the lawsuits. This is a city which is well situated in the middle of the Bay Area, right? We should be having people come over to Fremont, not go from here to enjoy life elsewhere, enjoy the evening. We should have a proper downtown. We should be having a thriving economy. I have kids who are second graders, go to Fremont Unified. I'm invested in this city, right? I've been on the PTA as the VP of Communications. I've worked with the city during times of crisis like COVID for advocating multiple parks and children's play areas actually inside those parks. I have experience with various states in attracting investments to states. I've been the ambassador of various cities to attract and assimilate the diverse population, immigrants and stuff, to get them cohesively integrated. And I want to bring that to fruition by running as the mayor of Fremont and elevating Fremont. My website is rohanmarfatia.org. And again, my vision is to build together a thriving, safe, and inclusive Fremont. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think the most important question you can ask a candidate is, why are you running? Why in the world are you putting yourself through this? Well, I'd like to start by saying I have master's degrees in city planning and transportation engineering from UC Berkeley. And while I was at Berkeley, I learned about what makes a well-planned city. I learned all sorts of examples of how cities do it and how they do it well. And then in the middle of graduate school, I moved here to Fremont. And I didn't see any of those examples here. What I saw was just one small parcel being developed after another. And then I was around when the Patterson Ranch development came. And with that one and with many others, we saw many people in the community who were like, we don't want this. We want something else done. We do not like the plan that is being presented. The council, you would have 50, 100 people in the room and saying they did not want this, overwhelming, the people did not want it, and yet council just approved it. And I saw that over and over and over. And I talked to many residents who felt like they were not being represented, that their vision of what they wanted to see Fremont was not being represented. So I said, I'm gonna step up. I'm gonna give it a shot. Plus the other thing I will say, I ended up in tech and have been very happy there, but I do miss the elements of city planning, of really trying to make a better city. So that's one of the things I would really love to see. I think we really lack that in Fremont. The way we've been developing is just small little parcels after small little parcel. There's no sense of community. And I really think that is what we need. And if you really want to unite Fremont and bring it together, design it so that we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to alternate who speaks when, so everybody gets a chance to be first or second or whatever. The first question is, what are your top 3 challenges or priorities as mayor, and what are your ideas for meeting those priorities? And the first one up will be Rohan, followed by Raj.
So my top 3 priorities, no particular order as such, but the first one is economic development. I've been a technology sales professional. I've been part of companies which have scaled from 500 million to 5 billion. I've scaled companies from 5 million to 20, 25 million. So I know the importance of revenue. Why I'm saying that? Because when you have a thriving city, when you have businesses come to town, they pay taxes, right? You generate revenue from taxes. So I'm bringing that to the city. That experience, 20 years of sales experience, revenue generation experience, I'm bringing that to the city. I've been on economic development. I've worked with councils at city and state level. I've been negotiating tax incentives with 9 different states to set up hubs and stuff. So that is what I want to bring to the city. I want to make the Fremont area attractive for businesses. I don't want businesses to leave Fremont. So that is my first priority. Second is public safety, and it has various nuances. I mean, the issues that we are having with the unhoused population, crime going up, Porsche thefts, and oftentimes when I meet people, I see that we have excuses. We state that, hey, we don't have enough funds. On the other hand, we don't have enough officers too. So public safety is the second priority. And the third one is clean, corruption-free governance, right? What we have seen over the current mayoral term is unacceptable. Over the past 10 years, 576 politicians in California have been convicted of corruption charges. This is not acceptable. And that is what I want to bring to the table. These are my top 3 priorities. Thank you.
Thank you. Raj?
First of all is public safety and crime. So it's very important that Fremont become the safest city in the country. So specifically, I would like to hire more police officers and support the ones we have here already. Second is to address homelessness. My plan for homelessness is both compassionate and practical. We need to reduce homelessness by getting people into shelter, providing them the needs and services that they deserve, whether it's mental health or addiction support, disability benefits, and a path to permanent housing. And we also need to look at impacts of homelessness to make sure that we are addressing issues as far as the trash and other issues to make sure that our community is accepting of the changes that we're making. And so we need to have a balanced approach where we, one, address the homeless issue, but also we reduce the impacts on our community. And then third is affordable and middle-class housing. I think we need to incentivize more affordable housing, and we also need to build more middle-class housing. More and more folks can no longer afford to live here in Fremont. If you look at our school population, we have a declining enrollment in our schools because young families can't afford to live here. And so we're becoming the Cupertino of the East Bay. And so we need to look at ways to incentivize middle-class housing. And of course, my personal passion, economic development, we need to make sure that Fremont is a thriving community. We want to become the Silicon Valley hub of the Bay Area, continue to promote more jobs and economic stimulation.
Thank you. Vinny, and then next. Vinny?
Oh, me? Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, my top 3 priorities, I think are related, are affordable housing, and then homelessness and sustainable development. As far as affordable housing, I think what we've been doing, which basically is relying on the in-lieu fees, it clearly isn't working. If you look at the regional housing needs allocation numbers, we are not meeting them. We are woefully falling adequate as far as providing adequate affordable housing. I think there's a lot of things we can do there. I hope there's another question on that. I get a little more time to talk about that. But definitely we need to increase the fees that we're charging, and we need to look at developing mixed income communities as opposed to just letting developers do nothing but, say $2 million homes. We need to create more mixed use communities. With homelessness, we definitely need to do more. I'm really was upset with the decision that was made Tuesday in our city council meeting, which was just that we're going to just move the homeless along. That we're going to make them go for 3 days at one place, and then they move 3 days another, then they can go back to the same old place. And the bottom line is that it's doing nothing to solve the problem. We've heard talk of shelters. I haven't seen any talk over the last, since I've been off the council, of anything in our budget or anyone making a referral as to actually seeing more shelters since we did the Homeless Navigation Center back in whenever that was when I was on the council. And the last thing I would mention is sustainable development. I think, again, we need to be developing places where there really is a sense of community. And if I can sneak in a fourth one, I would say crime, because I think if we really help solve the homeless, we help solve the affordable housing problem, and we make areas where people actually congregate, you make safer places. Thank you.
You.
My number 1 priority is homelessness because it is related to public safety. My number 2 priority is education. My number 3 priority is fixing our roads. I spent hours on the street of Fremont, 6 hours today actually. So I actually talked to a lot of people. Fremont does not have anywhere nearly enough shelter housing. Nowhere close. We don't have enough of what we needed to house, okay, all the homeless people right now. What I wanted to do is to help all the people that wanted to go back to work. I think that group of people deserve help. All the people that need treatment, they need to get treatment. It's pretty straightforward. Everybody else, the only thing that I can think of right now is we need to maintain some separation between them and us. That's all I can think of. Anybody else who has any good ideas on this last point, please come talk to me. I am open for all ideas and inputs. Thank you.
Okay. For the next question, we'll start with Raj, and the second speaker will be Hugh. And the question is, or the statement is, about failing neighborhood shopping centers. There are several small neighborhood shopping centers where small businesses have closed with no sign of replacement tenants. As mayor, what steps would you take to re-energize failing neighborhood shopping centers?
Well, after COVID, our retail and some of the small businesses have suffered quite a bit. Also, the shopping behavior has changed a lot. More and more people are going online to purchase goods. So, and in Fremont as a whole, we have a lot more underperforming strip centers. And so one of the things I want to do is I want to focus on a few key areas to further develop those. Most people want to go shopping where there's a group of restaurants or a group of shops. They don't want to just go to just one shop. So I think we need to create these districts where we create this massing of restaurants, retail, entertainment. And we already have those places. We already have our downtown, so we definitely need to build that out all the way from Fremont Hub, which has really become dilapidated, and also areas like Mission San Jose, Irvington, and revitalize those areas. Some of the other ones that are not doing so well, we need to reimagine them and look at new uses. So, for example, some of the older uses might not be compatible with what's in demand now. You look in San Francisco or San Jose, they're having difficulty filling office space. And so office space, it used to be very exciting years ago, but now it's very underutilized. We have to look at other uses for those places. And so I would like to see more entertainment, better dining, more fun things for City of Fremont residents. And so as mayor, I will be looking at specific measures to incentivize those types of businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Hugh, and then we followed by Vinny.
Retail businesses and homeless people don't really mix well. Lots of places, San Francisco, San Jose, are in fact closing. So I think we have to address the homeless issue because it actually impacts a lot of different areas. Okay? More than I can tell you in 2 minutes. But this is what I wanted to do. First, we need to keep our streets clear. Second, we need to provide the necessary attractions, okay, for people to shop at their own community. It's not realistic. Somebody, go 30 miles away, half an hour away, just get yourself a cup of coffee? Nobody does that, right? So I think the places where we're successful is if you can get your people from your own community come and shop there. That's how we revitalize. We have to encourage people to support their own community. Ardenwood, Northgate, Central Fremont, those are all the same. Encourage your own community. We don't need to worry about Mission or Irvington all that much. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, while there definitely is a more global national problem with retail due to COVID and online retailers, there is a lot more we could be doing in Fremont. And I have talked to so many people who say, yeah, we go out for a good time. We go down to Milpitas. We go to Pleasanton. We go up to the city. We don't go here in Fremont. I think the bottom line is it comes to designing a decent place and then building out from that. I will applaud the city for what they've done as far as the downtown. Those things do take a long time, but I think our downtown is coming along well. However, there are a couple of problems I have, like with Centerville. I remember back when I was first on the council, there was actually a proposal to do more along Fremont Boulevard there, where you've seen it in other cities, where you'll widen the sidewalks, you'll reduce the lanes, you'll make it somewhere where, it is more pedestrian friendly. And still, if you go to Fremont Boulevard now, you take your life in your hand if you cross the street in Centerville there. The other thing I will say is I differed with the economic development back then when they put so much emphasis on Pacific Commons and the block. It's anything but a walkable area. I mean, you basically have to get over to the freeway to get there. And it's just, there's just no sense of there. I think it's great for the big box retailers, that's fine. But to think that we're going to actually have that as our kind of walkable pedestrian area, I think is ridiculous. And of course, when you do that, you actually starve out the other neighborhoods because there's only so much retail that people will buy. So when you put all that retail there at Pacific Commons, that's one thing that really hurts the hub. And the hub used to be our thriving shopping area, but now it's been replaced by other areas. So thank you.
Thank you. Rohan?
So I think we have to get the flywheel turning, right? What I mean by that is we have to capture the requirements. If there are almost 250,000 people living in Fremont, right? We got to capture the requirements of high schoolers. What is it that they want to do? We have to capture the requirements of middle-aged people, of seniors, right? We have to have options when it comes to creating these malls, these venues where they can spend time. I mean, right now when I talk to people, they're like, hey, our high schoolers are spending more time on phone because we don't have time to take them to Milpitas or wherever. So design consideration, we have to ensure that first of all, it caters to different things. Zoning, right? We are in a gig economy, right? There are restaurants which are cloud kitchens. They just cook and they focus on delivery. So if you have like a place where you're going for shopping, where you can eat as well, you can carry a takeout, maybe you have to reevaluate the zoning regulations. Maybe it doesn't need as many parking spots as it used to before, right? Because people come down, pick up the food and leave. So you have to have all these design considerations in mind. Make it data driven is what I'm saying. So there is ample data. Refresh the data because things are not working out, and safety is the number one thing. When I talk to small businesses, shop owners, they are facing that as well. So that is like table stakes. So when we solve the unhoused crisis, when we have a safe environment and we design these in a data-driven format, we can have a thriving mall, a hustling and bustling area where everyone can have a good time. We need to have a proper downtown. It has taken too long.
Thank you. The next question is something that each of you has sort of talked about a little bit, but this is a solid question on it. It's about the homeless population. Fremont, along with many other cities, faces a continuing crisis dealing with our homeless population. Do you support the methods currently being used to help house the homeless? What creative ideas do you have for addressing this issue? And this will be Vinny first, and then Hugh.
Thank you. Definitely. Well, the homeless problem, it's not something, unique to Fremont. It is a national problem. And I think first of all, you have to look at it with compassion. And I think the bottom line is, with every homeless person, there's some story, something went wrong. Whether it's mental health or addiction or simple, they got kicked out of their apartment or something like that. But I think we definitely need to approach it from a standpoint of compassion. Again, I do have to say I was very disappointed in the ruling on Tuesday that basically they're just going to move people along if they're living in the cars. The city failed to implement what staff recommended as far as expanding the safe parking program. And now the solution is we're just going to have those people move along. And again, my understanding of that, the net result is they're just going to have to move. And then 3 days later, they can move back to where they were. And then they can go again and again. And I'm just like, how is that solving the problem? It is not solving the problem. And I think, unfortunately, we're going to have to, put more resources into things like mental health treatment, into drug awareness treatment, and do those kind of social services. And I think one thing that will really help is with our police, because right now our police are taking 10 calls a day to deal with homeless, and all the police can really do is move people along. And now with this new ruling, they're now going to have to enforce these ruling of making sure that people move every 3 days, even further taking away from their job of solving real crime. So I think that's something that we need to put more resources into it. Thank you.
Okay, Hugh, followed by
I think
Rohan. Okay.
the homeless problem requires a different approach. I want to help the people that looking for work. I want to see people who need treatment gets their treatment. The people who refuse our help, we need to figure out what to do. But at this point, we need to keep some separation. That's a very straightforward plan. There is a lot of, homeless is not a homogeneous group. There are actually a lot of subgroups. And it's not enough time for me to go into all the details of how to treat each and every one of these groups. I actually taken the time. I think I'm the only candidate that actually published a plan at my website. So you can go, you can look, you can give me feedback. It is an ongoing process and not a finished one. Okay, the plan is an ongoing plan, not finished, right? So we spend a lot of money on the homeless issue. The success and the resources that we spend on homelessness is not proportional. Not proportional. Home key round 2, home key round 3, all of that is non-reality. People are not getting help. Thank you.
So let's talk about a few numbers, right? We know that between 2018-19 till 2022-23, in the county, the unhoused population increased by about 20-odd%, whereas in the city of Fremont, we had an increase of about 70-odd%. So something's up, right? Again, in terms of numbers, we know that 67% of our unhoused population doesn't know services which are available to them. So we have to connect them to services. Almost 80% of them are suffering from mental health and substance abuse. We need to be compassionate, right? We need to connect them to the right services. And I think 20% of them are actually stable physically and mentally. So why don't we give them a sense of purpose in life, right? Why don't we employ or contract the homeless people to solve the homelessness crisis? So the state is spending, I think they're spending upwards of $90,000 per unhoused individual every year. Think about that for a moment. Instead of that, if you have like this street team model, there is a nonprofit called Street Team. They're not there in Fremont. As your next mayor, I'm going to have such nonprofits in Fremont. If you pay them $18, $19 an hour, and if they educate the other unhoused people, right, on the services available and they be connected, immediately you'll have a 40% unhoused problem resolved, right? So think about that for a moment. Let's have these creative solutions in place. So make it data-driven, use the new legislation, employ the homeless people to solve homelessness where you can. Thank you.
So I have both a compassionate and a practical plan for addressing homelessness. I'm a perpetual student. I've been studying this issue for a long time. And, first of all, we can't just sweep and move people along. So we do need to provide more shelter. As a society, we don't have enough shelter in the West Coast. We need to build more shelter housing. We need to give more mental health support. We've been underfunding mental health for decades. We need to build regional mental health centers that we work with our leaders around the community and get people into those. We need to address people's disabilities, get them job training, and get them on a path to permanent affordable housing. And so we need to address all of those issues. Regarding safe parking, since it was mentioned, since the first recommendation, we had an updated recommendation. We did a homeless plan where the expert said that we should focus more on preventing homelessness, which would solve twice as many people's issues than just safe parking, which only helped a few folks. And the safe parking is also a longer project. We need to work with our regional players. Just most recently, we are looking at impacts of homelessness on the community. So we want to, again, have the will of the community to make sure that they support the programs. So we want to reduce the impacts in the neighborhoods and where there's interface, whether it's our small businesses or whether it's large RVs in neighborhoods. We are strategically looking at those one-off things to see how we can reduce the impacts in the neighborhoods. We can't just push this problem from one area to another. We have to address it with compassion, and then we also have to make sure that our community can also coexist and have a great quality of life. Thank you.
Okay, the next question, we'll start with Rohan and then Raj will follow. And this is a very interesting question, I find. Takes me back to my college days. Please describe one situation where you built a consensus.
Yeah, very interesting question. So I've had the experience of living in different countries. I've lived in Asia Pacific, I've lived in Europe, I've lived in different parts of UK and in US. So an incident where consensus building is required. So there's one case wherein we were trying to, with one of my former employers, we were trying to set up this rural shore tech center. So there were different nuances, different recommendations. So I was given the task to kind of work with 9 different states, reach out to different economic teams, take the feedback, negotiate tax incentives, and then have some kind of a consensus as to where we kind of set up this center. So that allowed me to work with not only different state teams, different city teams, different economic development teams, but also within my company, kind of figure out, hey, I mean, someone might state that, hey, maybe Fargo, North Dakota, it's too cold, we should not set up a center over there. So I was able to kind of bridge the gap both internally, network externally with different states, with different cities, 9 different states in the US. And we came up with a conclusion that, hey, I mean, knowing everything in mind, maybe this is what we should do. We should set up this center over here. So it was a complex issue, dealing with multiple third parties, external agencies, as well as internal stakeholders. But we finally arrived at a consensus and we set up a tech center in one of the states that we narrowed down on. But that taught me a lot about dealing with public sector and gave me the public-private experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Raj, followed by Vinny.
So I'm proud to say I always build consensus. 100% of the time in my 8 years on city council, I've always built consensus. I have always been in the majority on every single vote. And it's because I work well with others, I respect others, and sometimes we agree to disagree on certain issues. In politics and in life, you never get 100%. So I'm always trying to move the ball forward. So if I can get 80%, I'll go for that. I'm proud to say I have the support of the entire Fremont City Council, as well as the mayor, both of our supervisors, Hobart as well as Marquez, both of our Congress members, because I'm always trying to collaborate, work well with others, and make sure that we're always solving the problems. I never try to be just the only one because I want to be special, because I was the only one that protested. I want to be the one that's actually getting things done. And there's nothing more important in local government than getting things done. And if you don't work well with others, you will not be very effective. As the mayor, you are the leader for the city. So it's very important to bring all your colleagues together so that they can work well, be respected, and be able to solve the many issues facing us. And I'm proud to say that in any of my elections, whatever I promised, I did exactly that. I never promised something that I could not do. And so whatever I'm running on today, I promise you, if I'm elected as your mayor, I will definitely deliver on all those issues, and I will make sure that I work with my colleagues to accomplish those goals. Thank you.
Vinny?
Yes, I have to address, you've never been on the losing side of a vote. I remember when staff wanted to remove the Historical Architectural Review Board, the vote was 3-2, and you were part of the 2. And I am glad to say that the Historical Architectural Review Board still exists today. One of the things I built consensus on was minimum wage. I made a referral on minimum wage because I do believe that government should work for those people who are suffering the most, and obviously those that are making the least income of all. I felt they needed help. The California minimum wage It isn't even good for California, let alone the Bay Area. And I was proud that I did make a consensus motion. There were many differing views as far as should we exempt local businesses, should we exempt nonprofits, and should we exempt youth and things like that. And I was proud to make a motion that it succeeded in making consensus, and the ultimate vote was 7-0. So anyway, I'm glad to have done that. Thank you.
Okay. No, not now. No, sorry.
I've been a long-term PDA person. This is an honorary service award. PTAs, there's no choice. We have to build consensus because otherwise nothing gets done. We're all parents, we're all volunteers. Everybody has a voice. So, it is about consensus in the PTA. Okay? But at the same time, there has to be some leadership along the way as well, too. So I think it is not just enough to say we build consensus. Yes, we do. But at the same time, there has to be some leadership in there, too. Right? So I think it is a balancing act. And, I think my track record speaks volumes about my ability to work with people. In fact, I want to tell you that if I am the mayor of Fremont, everyone would have a friend in City Hall. You're all welcome to come. You should come and talk to your mayor. That's what I would encourage. That is consensus building, right? I am working for you. I want you to come. It's as simple as that. Thank you.
Thank you. And now a topic that everyone just loves, money. Physical stewardship. Physical viability and stewardship is the cornerstone to achieving many of the vision and goals that you all have been talking about. What steps and oversight will you take to ensure that the city of Fremont is physically strong? And then they have in parenthesis, the proposed budget is showing that the general fund's unreserved balance declined to 0. Okay. You guys ready? Raj, followed by Hugh.
Yes, so during my time on city council, I have always been fiscally responsible. As far as our current budget, we did have some state takeaways. We were given extra funding from the state for sales tax for one business. And so that money, when it came in, we put it into a reserve account. We have 2 reserves account. We have one of the best managed budgets in any city around here. That money was not spent. That money was put in a reserve. And then when we found out that we had been overpaid, we are paying that back. So we still have a sustainable budget going forward. I'm proud to say that the Mercury News interviewed all the candidates, at least the ones that showed up, and they endorsed me because they felt that I was the best capable of managing our budget. Because the newspaper endorser, Dan Bornstein, is very strict on sustainability as far as budget, as far as expenses, pensions, and compared to most cities, we are doing better. Going forward, I want to work on the sales tax consultant and see why they were not able to catch this red flag and to prevent that going forward. But I feel confident that we will be fine in the future years. We were going to fund additional programs with that extra money we got, but we were able to still maintain our current level of service. We are still building a community center. We built a downtown event center recently and an Age Well Center in South Fremont.
Hugh, followed by Vinny.
When it comes to fiscal issues, I'm actually a conservative. I'm a fiscal conservative. I don't believe in spending money that you may or may not have. But that said, what I like to do is, I think our city is spending too much time on consulting fees. We had what is a classical thick middle layer, okay? A lot of money go to the middle. They don't actually go to the people. They don't actually go to the people who need the resources. We spend a lot of money on claiming, well, this person provide this service, that person provide that service, and then we look at the end of the day, so how much of it go to the end user? The answer is very little. That is a problem that I wanted to fix. Okay? I think the city does a reasonable job of managing its budget, but reasonable isn't quite good enough. We spend too much money. We spend too much money on the middle layer. Okay? No more consultants. We want to put a pause on all consulting contracts. That's what I would do from day one. We're going to review every one of the contract that we sign. And I will be asking, why is this necessary? Why is this necessary? Explain to me. And that's how we're going to proceed from here on. Thank you.
Thank you. Vinny?
Yeah, regarding the current situation, I mean, we received a huge overpayment from the state. And in my opinion, staff should have caught that and said, something is up here. And of course, we did have to pay that back. And it did hurt our budget. As was asked in the question, the reserve is now 0. It's gone. I will say one thing. I went to a conference once in Sacramento on government, and there was a presentation on participatory budgeting, where the city has people get together and they talk about it and like, what are our goals? What do we want to achieve with our budget? And I thought, this is really great. And this is the exact opposite of what we have in Fremont. Even as a council member, I really felt that the budget came to us and it was just to be rubber stamped. We actually had 3 separate meetings on the budget, and I think in sum total, we would get maybe 1 or 2 people from the community to respond or have any kind of a comment. And it was really frustrating because I would mention things like with homelessness. I said, we're not going to solve this problem unless there's some kind of increase. When we were talking about the Homeless Navigation Center, which was funded by grants, I said, unless we actually put a little bit of our $200 million budget into helping this, it's not going to do anything. Guess what? I went nowhere. There was no change to the budget from what it was presented. And if I, as a council member, felt frustrated that I couldn't get any kind of change into the budget, I can just imagine how the average person feels. And we really need to have that kind of participatory budgeting where it really is much more transparent and open to the public. And we really get people involved and say, how are we going to spend the huge budget that we have? Thank you.
I want to start with a few examples, right? We have a homelessness management information system. It's called HMIS. Most of the services rendered to homeless or unhoused people, they're not accurately captured. So when I'm a manager, my management philosophy has to be, hey, I can manage what I can measure. But if I cannot measure something, how will I manage it? Right? How will I have fiscal stability? If I don't even know what services I'm providing to all the unhoused people, I don't have accountability of the funds. So make it data-driven when you're talking about fiscal responsibility. When one of my peers stated that we are a very well-managed city, I completely disagree, right? I disagree with the articulation of Dan Borenstein. We can balance the budget however we want, right? We can state that, hey, this is the top line, this is the bottom line, we kind of matched it, but at what cost, right? When you go and talk to people in this guy's district or in Irvington, right? When there are 15 car break-ins, when you call a cop, they come down and state that, yeah, you have to do this, you have to do that. And when the residents ask the question to the officer, hey, what are you going to do? They're like, sorry, we don't have funds. Is this the way we're supposed to run our city? Right? We can state that we have a balanced budget, but we don't have services to, at what sacrifice, right? We're sacrificing the services. So make it data-driven, right? Ensure that there is fiscal responsibility, have these measures and systems and tools in place to capture it, and then focus on economic development. We have more businesses coming in, we'll have a greater budget to spend. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, Vinny will be first and Hugh will be second. And this is something I think everyone in the room can relate to. It's on road maintenance. We received many questions about road maintenance, many complaining about potholes, cracked and chipped pavements, continuing diversions around construction areas, long lines of traffic held up while deep trenches were opened, etc. Is there anything the mayor can do to alleviate this situation?
Kind of confused. There was a multi-part question there. Regarding the potholes and the situation, the bottom line is, Fremont was developed as an auto-oriented city, and we have very many roads. That's how our city was built out. And guess what? Those roads are very costly to maintain. And I think the city does do a good job. They actually do. They have pavement management index that determines how bad a road is, how used it is, and basically does what fixes they can. But that was always part of our unmet needs, that road maintenance. And again, it was, I think, the nature of Fremont. People are asking about I think your question about the trenches next to intersections, and what's going on there, or what's called complete streets, is where they're trying to make that intersection safer for pedestrians. And I know there's been a lot of concern about that, a lot of people complaining about the lack of right turn lanes. And the whole goal is, of course, to make it safer. I do think at certain situations, specifically Fremont and Maury, the lack of a right turn has significantly resulted in more delays. And I think in that situation, and I've even heard from staff that that is one situation where they are going to look at that. But I think in general, we have to err on the side of safety. I know in the prior debate, they were talking about safe routes to schools, and a lot of that is, if a kid has to cross the street, you want to make that as safe for them as possible. And I want to share, it's incredible when I bring that up to some people about how we must focus on safety. They're like, no, maybe not.
Thank you. You, followed by Ron.
I want to tell you that it's not just balancing the budget. It is not just getting everything done, just like last year, just like the year before that, just like the year before that too, right? No. It is time to ask questions. So why is our transportation department not getting the money? What happened? Why are the people who should have the money not getting the money? That is the question, right? So, why people talk about police officers. We had 35 openings right now, 35 of them, open spots. Why? So if we were to incentivize some of these people, well, where's the money? You keep allocating these police budgets. Well, but the police is having trouble hiring people. So what are you doing about that? Right? So I think when it comes to this sort of issues, it really is a question of priority. Where do you rank your roles? Where do you prioritize your police officers? Where are you when it comes to homeless people with the resources for them? Where are your priorities? That is the question that's long overdue. Someone need to go in there and start asking.
Thank you. Rohan, and followed by Raj.
So where there's a will, there's the way, right? The question is on potholes and stuff. Two parts to the question. First is you got to capture where they are, right? So we should have proper systems. I've used the city's mobile app for things like, hey, a tree is infested with termites and it has fallen onto the street. You take a picture, you send it to the city. I tried it like 3 different times, no one showed up. And then we had to do it ourselves, right? So if you have a proper feedback mechanism, right, a proper, you're in the Silicon Valley, right? You got to use tech. So have a good way for you to capture the information from city residents. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is you work on it, right? You should be able to work on it. Yeah, there can't be an excuse that there are no funds for it, right? Public works, you advocate at various levels. There's a hierarchy. You have the city, you have the county, you have the assembly, senate, state, federal. So why should funding become a challenge, right? If you have captured the requirement, you make sure that you're getting the funds and you have public-private partnerships as well. Utilize that, right? And then ensure that someone is able to adopt certain streets or figure out a way how you can get the funding. But don't make that as the primary reason stating that, hey, we don't have funding and we're not able to work on this. So I think to answer the question, I think 2 parts, a summary. First, capture the feedback from the customers or from the residents. And second, find a creative way using the partnerships at all levels to get the funding and get the job done. As simple as that.
Raj.
So our streets and roads are very important. We have 92 square miles, a very large city. As mayor, I will increase the spending for improving our streets, our roads, and fixing our potholes. I also would like to see more money invested into improving our sidewalks. When I ran the first time, I ran on that issue, and I was able to get 100 worst sidewalks fixed. If I'm reelected, I will push for even more. I think the city needs to do more in improving those issues. Where we have discretion, instead of reducing lanes or other things, I would rather see more money invested on safety, improvements, better roads, and just better sidewalks. I think that's key. I do want to answer about the budget. We do have two different reserves, unlike most cities. So we have a budget uncertainty reserve, which is a reserve that is meant for any uncertainty in any year in case we have a recession. So we had that one. That was very well funded once we got the extra money. Then we have another reserve that is again above the recommendation of 16.8% or whatever it is. We're way above that. So overall, again, I want to assure you that City of Fremont is well positioned for the future. The needs are great. We can't fix all the streets, all the potholes, all at the same time. We do have a pavement condition index, which is better than most other cities. Again, doesn't make you feel good if you have a pothole in front of your house, but we do address those. And I would like to differ. The Fremont app does work great. If you take a photo, it geolocates it, it will create a ticket, it will tell you when it's fixed. So if you're having any glitches, please let our city staff know. Thank you.
Okay. For the next question, we'll start with Rohan and Raj will be second. Fremont was designated as a compassionate city and a sanctuary city. What role does the city's mayor have in reassuring the residents of Fremont, where at least half or more were born outside the United States, that we remain a welcoming city for all?
I was born in India. I've lived at different countries globally, right? I've been a part of committees or programs, which are like the ambassador program for assimilating immigrants, war-torn countries, refugees. So the first thing is we have a very diverse community, but we are active in our own pockets. How many of you have been to a Chinese festival and have seen Koreans, Indians and stuff, right? How many of you have been to the Diwali festival and have seen Chinese and Koreans and Filipinos? So as your mayor, I'm going to ensure that these festivals across communities, these cultural celebrations, there has to be a assimilation. They have to scale. We have to ensure that there is wider participation. We have to be compassionate to people who have come in from abroad, war-torn places, refugees and stuff. I have literally been on an ambassador program for assimilating refugees and inducting them into the local culture and being respectful of their culture as well. So I've seen that, I've been there, I've done that. I want to launch a Fremont ambassador program. Every month, I'm going to recognize these individuals in the city hall meetings and facilitate them for the work that they're doing. So that's my vision, and that's how we'll be a compassionate city. That's how we'll make it thriving, safe, and inclusive for all, and that's how we're going to elevate Fremont. Thank you.
Raj, followed by Vinny.
I think the question was about Compassionate City, and I was proud to say that I was on the charter committee for the Compassionate Fremont. So the Compassionate movement is based on the golden rule. Treat others like the way you want to be treated. And so I think City of Fremont has really embraced that. And we are a compassionate city. We have folks from all walks of life, all backgrounds, all faiths, all everything, and genders. And so we want to make sure that everybody feels welcome here, everybody is treated well, and that we have harmony within all of our different communities. As mayor, someone that grew up here, I've seen the changes. When I grew up here, I was one of the few Indian Americans. Miss Morse is my teacher from history. Go Miss Morse. And so it's great to see the changes, and I believe I'm well equipped to bring all of our various communities together. I celebrate all cultures, I celebrate all religions, all faiths, and I attend all the various events. I attend 100% of the time. I don't attend just some of the time, not just during political season. And so I believe a mayor needs to be active, involved in our community, show up to all these organizations and events, and try to unify our community. I think we have a lot of potential in our city, and instead of different pockets and different areas, we need to bring everybody together. And so I look forward to doing that if I'm elected as your mayor. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. You're mixing it up a bit. But yeah, I'm proud. I made the referral to have Fremont designated as a sanctuary city. I think it's safe to say these days that immigrants are kind of being vilified as the source of all of our problems. And it was one thing I did in one of my briefings. I talked with the chief of police who said that, they did not want to participate work with ICE. And I remember at the meeting where we were going to be a sanctuary city, I asked the police chief, are you going to do anything different given that we're making this designation? And his answer was no. But I felt so it was kind of a symbolic move, but I think it was important to say that we respect immigrants and we are compassionate towards them. And again, I go back to the, when we did declare ourselves a compassionate city, of course, that was a 7-0 vote or 5-0, whatever it was at the time. But I think, again, it comes down to actions. What are we really doing for those people that are suffering the most in our community? And I think right now the answer is, from what I'm hearing, especially from you, we're not doing enough. And I think we definitely need to be doing more. And again, this subject of safe parking came up as well. Prevention was done instead. Well, first of all, safe parking was what staff recommended. And it's been recommended a couple of times. It has not been done. I don't know what prevention is being done instead of that. That wasn't specified. But we are clearly still rising in the number of homeless. Anyone who thinks that the homeless problem is going down and fading away is they're not certainly not correct in that. So thank you.
You.
I am all for compassion. Compassion is fine, right? Compassion is fine. In fact, I've been seeing the homeless people every week, sometimes twice a week. Sometimes once every 2 weeks, depending on my schedule. I actually see them. I will see them tomorrow. That's compassion. But compassion is not enough. Compassion itself does not solve any problems. Okay? It doesn't. So where is the shelter housing then? If you're compassionate about the homeless people, where is your budget for the transportation department if you're compassionate with the regular drivers who are on the road every day, going to work, going to school? Where are you when it comes to homeless disturbance calls? That number has, by the way, increased 100% over the last 5 years. So are you compassionate with all the crime victims then? Or are you selectively compassionate? Where is the compassion for the people who live here? This isn't a normal bedroom community. Where is your compassion for the regular guy who's just trying to make a living? Where is the compassion for 35 police officer empty spots? We can fill them.
Thank you.
Where's the compassion?
Okay, this will be the last question before we have the final presentations from our candidates here. I'm almost regretting that I don't live in Fremont now after listening to you all. Can't change the city line though. And we'll start with Raj and followed by Hugh for this last question. Regarding sustainability, what actions can we all take to reduce our carbon footprint? What plans would you support?
So City of Fremont is the leader in sustainability. We are the #1 place for clean technology companies. We are home to Tesla, which is the largest auto manufacturer in the country with over 30,000 jobs. Most recently, we passed a climate action plan in October 2023 that aims to reduce climate change by 30% by year 2030 and 55% from when we started. We are requiring solar on many of the new projects. We are encouraging sustainability by design in the projects that are being built. We are encouraging more recycling. Most recently, I found out more about composting. I'm kind of in that middle age where I kind of don't know all the ins and outs of recycling. So we're trying to encourage more businesses to do composting. So that's helping a lot. We also signed up for 100% renewable energy. So that is a huge game changer where we will have 100% renewable instead of PG&E. And we are also investing in electrical vehicle infrastructure for the community as well as our city. We're adding more electrical vehicles in the city of Fremont. And also the city of Fremont is the #1 place for electrical vehicles. The zip code 94539 has more electrical vehicles than any other place in the country. So I think we're all in as far as sustainability. We're adding more park space. We're preserving our open spaces and our hillsides. And so I think the future is strong for Fremont. Thank you.
Thank you. Hugh, followed by Vinny.
I think we do want to sustain some of the things that the city does well. All areas, places where Fremont is doing well, that should be sustained, right? That's perfectly clear. There are other parts that need to be changed. That too has to happen. So I don't think I would blindly go for sustain everything. I'm just gonna say, listen, these parts, let's go all out and sustain, right? Let's go and do the right thing. These other parts, no. We want change. We want to see the city council change. Okay? When it comes to homelessness, when it comes to the homeless disturbance calls, when it comes to our police officers, when it comes to our roads, that all need change. Not to say that, we're just gonna sustain. That's not gonna happen when I am the mayor. I am going to ask for both of these things to be done, because that actually is the challenge, not one side. Thank you.
Okay, in the closing, we're going to go in the opposite order from the opening.
We didn't answer that.
No. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So me?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, let me just say it was actually back in the 80s that I first learned about anthropogenic climate change, and I believe it. And what we're seeing today with the storms of Helene and Milton, it's something I believe we are in a climate crisis, and we need to do what we can to address it. And I really feel sorry for the younger people in our community that are going to feel the brunt of it 10, 20, 30 years down the road. I think there's two real things we can do. One is we can try our best to encourage, alternative forms of transportation. We have to face the reality. Fremont is an auto-oriented city. Again, it was the way it was designed. I try to be as environmentally responsible as I can, but I find myself driving my EV a lot because it's simply how you get around in Fremont. But I think we are making some good strides as far as, making biking and pedestrian activity safer. And of course, if it's safer, more people will do it. The other thing I really think that I was surprised, in the previous debate, none of the other candidates really got it. It's about planning. It's about mixed use planning. It's about having places where you don't have to drive. And I think a real failure we had was with Warm Springs BART. We could, that was something I was really looking forward to, something where we could say this is a state-of-the-art transit-oriented development where you really have a community there and you don't have to drive, that you have shopping, you have BART if you really want to go far places, you have all that there, and we really failed. We let the developers come in and just make it housing. I was just there, and I was just shocked at the lack of any community there. And so anyway, my time is up. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I want to give some examples. So we're talking about sustainability, right? So on one hand, we can have plans for bike lanes, but if you have like these 90-degree turns, and if the traffic gets backed up and people are spending like 4 to 5 minutes in jams, how is that sustainable? Look at not every car is an EV, right? So you're having emissions. So my point being, think holistically. Implementation within the city has been shoddy. So have a participatory exercise, consult everyone, right? Have a feedback mechanism. Make sure that you're capturing the feedback before implementation of these policies, like reducing traffic lanes and having bike lanes and creating these 90-degree turns. And then you have all these traffic problems. So I'm saying that, you crawl, walk, run. When you have these sustainability measures, you do it gradually. That's one. You think holistically, you capture the feedback, and the implementation is the key. You can't have a shoddy implementation, which in fact creates more carbon emissions than it was supposed to subside, right? So that's the key thing. Our lakes, right? So Lake Elizabeth, we had like 1,000+ fish, die off, right? They like to state that, hey, it was because of the heat, but I think there has been neglect. You just go over there, you see this stench, you see that, and you kind of smell it. I mean, you realize that there has been neglect. So when it comes to our lakes, when it comes to our parks and stuff, I mean, sustainability also starts there. Make sure they are well maintained. So invest in that. I think be practical and have pragmatic and solutions where you are soliciting feedback and you're implementing them. Thank you.
Okay. Now what we're gonna do is we'll just go down the line in reverse order for your final presentation to the community, your final sales pitch. Closing 2 minutes. Okay.
Is it reverse order? Do
Yeah.
you mean start here? Or? Okay, thank you. My main concern is the corrupting influence of special interest money in politics. I was the first candidate in Fremont's history to refuse campaign contributions from developers, noting that our developer-friendly city council simply approved the developments that came before them without pushing back. When I first ran, I represented the concerns of many residents who were upset with the pace of development in Fremont. With their help, I was able to win a seat on the council, even though I wasn't part of the political establishment. Once elected, I fought hard against the influence of special interests on our council, but unfortunately, we still have a developer-friendly city council. We need a mayor who is held steadfast to the principle of not taking developer money, not someone who took lots of money from developers and then later on decided not to do so for political expediency. We also need a mayor that doesn't own tens of millions of dollars of real estate in Fremont. This would be a very troubling conflict of interest, especially if that person was also bragging about having the entire city council behind them. We should not have people who are actively bringing development applications to the city also serving on the Fremont City Council. The process of developing in any city is a negotiation process. On the one hand, you have the real estate interests, who are primarily concerned with maximizing their profits. On the other, you have the city and its residents who want to see a well-planned city focused on satisfying the needs of its residents. My vision for Fremont is a city that prioritizes high quality of life, preservation of open space, public safety, and well-being, and excellent infrastructure and city services. In my opinion, it would be absurd to have a major landowner within a city also serving as the mayor of that city.
I want to start off by thanking the League. This is the 104th year of women's suffrage. So I want to recognize that. It's only been 104 years since women were given the right to vote. So there was a glass ceiling, right? Women had a glass ceiling. They couldn't vote. We have stated that they can't rise to leadership positions, and women have finally broken that glass ceiling. Likewise, in politics, there is a mindset and politicians are creating this perception that there is a glass ceiling, right? Commoners cannot enter politics. I want to change that. I want to set up a Y Combinator for politics. I want to ensure that we have young blood coming in and changing the system. Because if you trust on these politicians, I mean, we have seen that, right? What they have delivered, nothing is going to change. Same old promises, tout their failures as campaign promises. It takes an outsider to change the system for the better. I am that outsider. I'm like you, right? Women got the right to vote 104 years back. I'm going to be your next mayor, and I'm going to change this system and make sure we are going to elevate Fremont. I'm well invested in this city. My kids are second graders. They have a lifetime. They're going to go through Fremont schools. I come down with the right experience, with the right backing. I'm going to get the job done. So please trust an outsider, right? Vote for change this November. Do vote. I'm number 1 on the ballot. And my vision is to build a thriving, safe, and inclusive Fremont. My website is rohanmarfatia.org. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much to the League of Women Voters for organizing this forum. It's a great honor to be here. I grew up here in Fremont in poverty. You know, my family had nothing. And I recall the days when we stayed in one studio apartment, and we see the changes in city of Fremont. I'm proud to have a community that supported me, that allowed me to get good education, get affordable housing, parks to play in, and wonderful public schools. I went to Vallejo Mill Elementary, and then Centerville Junior High, and then Washington High School. My whole life, people have always counted me out. It was always like, oh, you can't do this, or you can't achieve that. And so I've always had to work hard to achieve anything I've ever done in my life. And so I'm proud that the city council and many of my colleagues have personally asked me to run for mayor because they believe that we need a mayor that will represent everybody, that will work well with everyone, that will show up 100% of the time, not just election time, that will be showing up to committee meetings, which are very important for the mayor. The mayor is the bully pulpit for the city. And so it's very important when you talk about being an environmentalist that you show up to meetings on renewable energy, where we're deciding to go 100% renewable, which is very, very important. If you're an environmentalist, you need to show up to meetings on recycling, where we're deciding composting. But if you can't be bothered to show up to meetings, I don't know how you're going to lead our city. So it's very important to be a problem solver, to look at the issue holistically and see how do we address the challenges facing us. How do we work with folks that are across the aisle that we may not agree with, but how do we get them halfway so we can get something done now instead of being ideologues and just complaining and blaming about, your time on city council when you accomplish nothing. I look forward to working for all of you selflessly in the next 8 years. At this stage of my life, I don't need anything. I love my city. Fremont's been great to me, and I will make sure that we take Fremont to great heights with all your help and cooperation. I humbly ask for your vote and your support. Thank you.
You're happy? You're happy with the city council? Please support the incumbents. If you want something different, please support the outsiders. I have a long track record of working with people. When I am the mayor, you will be my priority. You will be my priority number one. The city's budget would make sense. There will be money going to the roads. There will be money going to the police officers. There will be money going for public safety. There will be some money helping our schools. We need to reprioritize. We need to have an open public conversation about how do we reprioritize. Some of the money will go to the homeless people too. They will finally get some of our money. And not the people in the middle layer, showing up at these committee meetings with $700 suits. Okay? That's why one of our CEO show up, $700 suits, more expensive than my $30 suits. And that's the kind of city we are. That's where we are today. So, election has consequences. Please vote for an outsider. 2 outsiders in this room. You can choose, right? Depending on who you like. But please vote for an outsider. Not people who has been around for 10 years and have very little to show for it. Not someone who's been around for 8 years and have very little to show for it. These people have very little to show you what they have done. I will be different. I will show you the first day I'm in office. It will be a different city council. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate your.
Closing comment from the moderator.
Yeah. I want to thank each of you for your participation and your willingness to run. We want to be sure that all voters know about the League's famous website, vote411.org. And you can get an awful lot of voting information there. Thank you.